does show that you're moving, and in particular with the pitching depth. Give us your impressions of where you stand now to where it was when you took over.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out today and making the pilgrimage here and making the effort to come here and learn about the Orioles. You guys probably know more about the Orioles than I do. But we are working on a couple of things, and that is to give our ball club a better chance with better starting pitching. And, it's all about depth for me, right? Because it's really a war of attrition during the season. And if you have some pitching depth, you got a chance. And, that's really kind of what the focus was, to help the team get back. If you take a look at the roster, we got a good roster, and the run production last year was good. Not that we can't get better, we'll try to improve that too, but the pitching was really looking for help, and that's really where we put our focus.
Buck, along those lines, with the team's ERA last year, it was difficult to compete day in and day out. The depth is certainly going to help. From your perspective as the manager, the strength in numbers, how do you look at that, in particular the competition that you're going to have in spring training?
Well, first of all, thanks, like Dan said, for everybody coming out. I know it was some hardships for some people. My wife wanted me to get up at 5 o'clock. She thought it was going to take me 3 hours to get here, but I made it. Not near as bad as I thought, but I've been here since about 6:30. It seems like I've been waiting on y'all to get here. But, I look at the guys we had last year. There's a process that all young pitchers go through. And the part that makes me feel good at night, that we have gotten through the processes that, when I was in New York and Texas and Arizona, the process that young pitchers go through, the inning increments jump, the ups and downs, let's face it, guys like Brian Mattis and Zach Britton, those guys, that we love them, but, they're the best pitcher in Little League, the best pitcher in high school, the best pitcher in college, the best pitcher in Frederick and Aberdeen and Bowie, and all of a sudden, the first time they get centered up here and things kind of get a little sideways, are they going to bite back? Are they going to fight back? And developing pitching in American League East, as nobody knows better than Dan, is a little different. And it really tests your moxie and your makeup. So if you look at all the processes that young pitchers have to go through, we have a lot of that behind us. So, I know we have a lot of different people in here via trade, some free agency, some from Japan, some from Taiwan. That's all about the depth that Dan's talking about and the what ifs, I call them. We get to the point when spring training where we send some guys down because of numbers and not because of production. Last year it was last man standing, last healthy body weight. Now it's about the competition, and that always brings out the best in people that can be part of a winning atmosphere. So I'm looking forward to it. Last year we had 6 or 7 guys down there competing. This year we have 11 or 12, and if you know anything about Dan, I got a feeling he's not done yet. So stay tuned.
How does the dynamic work between you two in terms of how you go about building a team? I realize your staff is very hard at work to give Buck and his staff the players for the spring, but how often do you talk? Do you discuss a player beforehand? How does that dynamic work?
It did about 2 minutes ago.
How often do we talk?
It was about 30 seconds ago we were talking about one.
Well, we talk morning, noon, and night, right? We were talking Christmas Day, for crying out loud. But Buck, we talk a lot. We text a lot. We email a lot. See, Buck's great strength is that he's an organization builder. And he learned that in the Yankees, working for Steinbrenner. And frankly, when I came to the Red Sox to try to build an organization, I tried to model the Red Sox after the Yankees. Because why? Because they know how to build a championship organization. So Buck and I share the same passion for organization building. And it's a big job. It's a lot easier when you have people that have the same vision, and Buck and I share that same vision for providing a top quality club for the Orioles that can be competitive year in and year out, and you can come out to the ballpark and be proud of. And we're building that step by step. It's coming along. We're making good progress, but it is a process.
Let me say this too, Jimmy. I can speak to y'all because I know the base I'm speaking to. You read a lot of these publications and all these people weighing in on minor league system and scouting and whether or not they have any players and whatever. Dan and I have been in the process don't let anybody think that we don't have some players in our minor leagues. You know, some of them may be down in Aberdeen or Frederick or Delmarva, but, you know, sitting in the process where other general managers and other teams talk to us about trades, they hit on the same players. There's a good 5 to 10 guys down there everybody in baseball covets very deeply. So don't think that our cupboard's bare by any, but that's fine. Let everybody keep thinking about that. It's back home they call it laying in the weeds. So just don't want to get too deep in those weeds, right?
We're going to open up to your questions, but before we do, Dan, somebody at the sponsor event last night said to me, with all the guys Dan's getting from overseas, are you going to lead the league in translators? You really were serious when you said you're going to get into that international market.
Well, I think there's great promise in the international market. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. Buck had a conversation with Matt Wieters, right? And he said, Matt, how's your off-season going? He goes, well, it's going pretty good. He goes, I picked up the Rosetta Stone program on how to learn Japanese. And he said, I picked up the Chinese program, and Buck said, well, the kid Chen, he's not Chinese, he's actually from Taiwan, he speaks Mandarin, so you're going to have to go back to the drawing board on that. He goes, and then he goes, what's Duquette going to do next, sign Wakefield?
I understand, catchers aren't a big fan of catching knuckleball guys. But, so, Matt, we got all the languages covered.
But anyway, you know, it's a global economy, right? So my philosophy is that aggressive scouting will build a winning ball club, and aggressive international scouting will build a championship team. So we're active in all the markets.
So people can see.
But I think that we got some good value in these two kids we got from Japan. Tsuyoshi Wada, the lefty, has won 16 games over there the last 2 years. He was the most valuable player of the league in 2010. And he and Wei Ying Chen squared off in the Japan series. They were two of the top pitchers in the league this year. And Wei Ying Chen led the league in ERA 2 years ago in 2009. Chen has a 92-mile-an-hour fastball and a real good closing pitch and a slurve. Wada has outstanding control and a 4-to-1 walk strikeout ratio, which leads me to believe that he'll be very effective here because that generally translates when you have that kind of control and command. But I like both these guys.
You know, the thing about the players too is you don't trade players for them. So we haven't taken Parker Bridwell or Manny Machado or Scope or Avery. Those guys are still with us. And you don't have to trade players to get them. Two, you don't lose players in the June draft because they're type A free agents from the free agent pool here in America. And, you know, Dan won't talk about it. We signed a player from New Zealand. I believe it was the first player ever from New Zealand. We signed the top amateur player about 3 days ago, 17-year-old left-handed pitcher from Korea. It doesn't mean that all we're going to do is sign them. It's just being involved with all parts of the market and making assets for our fans and for our club to have depth and continue to push through good and bad June drafts.
I saw you smile when Dan was telling that story. How's your Mandarin?
I'm just sitting here listening to him pronounce their two first names. I'm going, I'm so jealous. But that's, I think I'll get it down in the spring, I hope.
Jeff has our microphone right over here, so if you raise your hand, we'll get the mic to you, and we'll get to as many questions as you can. And don't be bashful. This is for the season ticket holders. So here we go, right in the middle here, Jeff.